Hello everyone, it's Christine from Christine Stamping Spot. Welcome to my Mystery Monday video today for Monday, March the 16th. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and we are halfway through the month of March. Oh my gosh, it is going to be April pretty soon. And tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. So do we have any Irish friends in the crowd that celebrate St. Patrick's Day? I hope you all have a wonderful celebration. It looks like a ton of fun all the time. So I hope you have a great celebration wherever you are celebrating from. So today we're going to take a look at the Rolling Waves bundle. This is an online exclusive item that just came out, I believe, with the March online exclusives. So we have a really fun stamp set with some nice greetings in it and these fabulous dies. So we have some that will do, different wave images. We have some nice shells and starfish, some other individual ones, a nice leaf, and a couple of umbrella tops. For anyone that, maybe if you're scrapbooking, you might want to do like a nice sunny day at the beach. So this is a really fun set that we're going to take a look at and make a project with today. So the project we're making is this one. I just kind of like beach scenes and all of that. It just reminds me of summer, or we don't have a nice beach here where we live, but I know we have been to Hawaii a few times, and that is my favorite place to go if I want to go to a beach. So fortunately it's a little ways away, but it is a wonderful place to just relax on the beach, hear the waves crashing. So nice. So we are going to use this bundle to make this card today, and I'm going to switch this up a little bit. And we'll see how it goes or how you like it. Okay, so I'm going to start with a piece of crumb cake cardstock at 11 by 4 1/4. So this will be our card base, and we will be flipping it up like this. Okay, you could also do it this way if you wanted, but let's try it this way today. Now, what I did on the sample here is I just sponged some extra crumb cake on top of the crumb cake base just to give it a little bit of a darker, sandy kind of look. And then I did a little bit of stamping, which is a little bit faint. And this one, I thought, you know what? I'm going to add an embossing folder on top. And so I decided to go with this one, the So Swirly embossing folder. This is a really large folder. It's not a 3D, it's just a regular embossing folder. And it has all these really nice squiggles and swirls to it. So I thought that looks a little bit like water or the waves. So I did that in crumb cake. Okay, and I'm going to put that on here, but I think what I want to do for this one is I'm just going to sponge around the edges of it just to give it a little bit of dimension. And so I'm just going to take my blending brush. You could just use a regular sponge, and I'm just going to, oh, this might have ripped here a little bit. Oh, might have been a little bit tight through that embossing machine, but that's okay. We'll try to cover that up a little bit. If worse comes to worse, you could always just use a little bit of tape on the back if you're afraid that might tear a little bit further. Try to be a little bit careful. I didn't notice that at first. So that can sometimes happen with some of our, really deep impression embossing folders. Sometimes they can just go right through that paper. So something to be aware of. I have had that happen a little bit sometimes with our basic white as well, but not enough that it, can't be used. But like I say, you can always either, put an image on top, or you can always add a little bit of tape to the back and it should be fine. Okay, so let's just add a little bit of sponging around there. Okay, so that should be okay. And so I'm going to put this on. Try not to rip it any further, because it does get a little bit compromised, I think. when you've got, you know, some deep embossing happening here. Okay, so I will put it on this way. Okay, so you have a little bit of color on there. Not quite as dark as the sample, but we are going to put that piece in the center there, so it should be okay. All right, so let's work on this inside piece. I'm going to set this aside. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create my own little background first. Now we do have a great little background stamp, not a little one, it's actually fairly large, this one that you could stamp on your background. But I kind of wanted sort of the top and the bottom to be a little bit different. So again, I'm going to take some of that crumb cake and I'm just going to put some here at the top, just to cover up most of that white. Okay, I might leave a little bit of it showing, but not a ton. Okay, I'm getting my edges a little dark, but that's okay. Okay, so as little or as much as you want to add. And just kind of get that little blend here. Got a little bit dark in some places, but every time, of course, you blend, it always turns out a little bit different, right? Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, because this is supposed to have the look of sand, okay, so we have a little sand stamp, this little one in here, that I'm just going to add a little bit here. So I might just sort of stamp this off and on. Okay, so it's going to add a little bit of sand dimension here. Okay. You can add as little or as much, or if you don't want to put any on, that's okay too. Okay, so let's just add a little bit of that. And then we're going to do the bottom part. So this is going to be, I hope I didn't go too low with that, but we shall see what happens here. So then I'm going to come in with Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to grab another sponge and I'm going to add some Lost Lagoon here on the bottom portion. Okay, so I'll probably try to fill that in a little bit darker just to give it sort of an ocean water look. Okay, so just try to fill that in. I'm going to blend it over top of this crumb cake a little bit. Now this is an extra step. I mean, if you just wanted to use some cardstock instead of making your own background, you know, for sure, do whatever you think is easiest, or if you wanted to use the stamp that was in the stamp set there, that, you know, it gives it a little bit of a nice look there too. So there are lots of ideas out there on Pinterest if you were kind of stuck on where to start. Okay, so do I want more? Do a bit more here at the bottom. It's always a little bit darker, the water, isn't it? The deeper it gets. So let's just make that a little bit darker here. Okay, do you think that's enough? Just try to cover this up a little bit, so that's not too bad, right? Okay, then what I did was I started to put together my waves. So there are 4 different dies that you can use to make your waves, okay? To give them all a little bit of a different look. So we have this one. Now I cut these out of basic white, and I did put an adhesive sheet on the back, okay? So I'm just going to use 3 of these, not the 4th one. The 4th, let me see. Or did I use that one? Yes, I used this one and this one and this one, but not this edge one. That's what's missing. Okay, so that would just leave an edge if you wanted sort of a firmer border there at the bottom. Okay, so these are kind of in the order, you know, you have the large one, then a little bit smaller wave, and then sort of the crest of the wave. So this one here, I'm also going to ink up, but I'm going to do it in Balmy Blue. Or is that the one? No, hang on. I'm just looking at my sample. That's not Balmy Blue. That is also Lost Lagoon. Okay, so I'm going to ink that up in Lost Lagoon as well. Okay, so just go over it as little or as much as you want. If you want to leave some white, that's fine. But these dies kind of nestle over each other as well. So some of the parts of it you won't see, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So I'm just going to make these here a little bit darker, okay, like so. So that's good. It doesn't have to be super, super dark. All right, so I'm going to leave that one, and then I'm going to bring in this one, and this one I'm going to do in Balmy Blue because I'm going to make it a little bit lighter as we go. Okay, so let's just do some Balmy Blue on this one. Trying not to accidentally crease my paper here. It's quite delicate after it's gone through the embossing machine, this die here. So just be aware. Take a little bit of care when sponging or blending. If you're using a brush or a sponge, either one works. Okay, so this will be a little bit of a lighter blue, right? A little bit lighter. And you can leave parts of it a little bit lighter too on here if you don't want to make it all Balmy Blue. So let's just leave it like that. It's got a little bit of weight on it. Okay. And then the last little piece here, I'm going to leave white. Okay, so let me just get my cloth. See if I can kind of just wipe this off a little bit. Oops, there go my waves. Okay, so we have the 3. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to put this one on top of the first one. Okay, so I'm going to peel off my adhesive sheet here. Okay, so it just peels right off. And then this will line up just perfectly here. So I'm going to start at the one end and get that lined up, and then the rest sort of just falls into place on top of that larger die at the bottom. Okay, so then just give it a press to let that adhesive stick, hopefully. Okay, so this goes all the way across. All right, oh, this one came loose. Maybe the ink is causing it not to adhere quite as well. So I'll just give that a little bit more of a press. Okay, so we have that layer. So can you see the subtle, it's a very subtle difference. I could have even not blended quite so much on this one. And then this one is going to go, I'm going to put it actually underneath, because on top, don't know if it fits quite as well on top. I think it's easier to mount it underneath. Okay, and this will line up just as well. So let me just see, do I want this on the top? I don't think these will line up quite as nice. You'll have some of that blue peeking out. I think it would go nicer underneath like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I am going to take this adhesive sheet off. Now, you could just use glue if you wanted. That works as well. Okay, so let's start at the end again, and we'll just go across and leave this white showing, and this will move down a little bit. And let's see, did I get that flat? I'm getting my my fingers all sticky. Let me just let this, there we go. Didn't quite fall where I wanted it to. Okay, I think that should be fine. I'm just going to press that down. So you see you have that little bit of the white coming through at the top, sort of like here. Okay, so then what I want to do is I want to place this on that sponged layer. Okay, so I did go a little high with the blue. Maybe about like so. Okay, so I'm going to take off the last adhesive sheet here. And I'm going to lie this down. Now you could go at an angle if you wanted. I'm just going to go across and press this down. Okay, and then cut off the excess here on the end. So let's do that. Does anybody have any tropical vacations planned? I know spring break is coming up here, at least the end of the month. It's always a busy time for people to travel, that's for sure. Okay, so there we go. That's how that's going to sit. So now what I want to do is I want to cut this out with our Everyday Arches dies. Okay, so I did cut a larger piece out of Lost Lagoon, and then these are the second and third largest. Okay, so the third largest, I'm going to cut my coastal little beach wave piece here. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to cut this out. And we'll see how that looks. Okay, so I've run it through. Now, because of the thickness, I might have to just trim this a teeny bit because it didn't quite cut through here because of all those layers, those wave layers. So it's easy enough to snip apart. Okay, now you might be wondering, well, why didn't you just put the waves on after you cut out this arch die? And yes, I could have done that, but what I wanted was I wanted this stitching here on both sides of the water. If I would have added that after, I would have had stitching on the top and down here, but not on the sides. And I kind of wanted it all to be uniform and even with that stitching. And I really kind of like how that turned out. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp a greeting, and we have a few in here. Hoping your day is perfect. Thank you. You're in my thoughts. Bon voyage. So someone's going on a spring break tropical vacation. And then we have happy birthday. So let's just use the happy birthday. And I'm going to do that in Lost Lagoon. Hopefully show up enough that I didn't sponge too dark. So let's see if I can get this here. I'll try to go up a little bit. There, happy birthday. Okay, you could do it in a darker blue if you wanted. That would be fine. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of baker's twine underneath. Okay, so this is from, I pulled a color from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. So you have a couple of different ones that you can choose. So I just pulled this one. This is more, I thought, more kind of sandy. Might sort of match the sand color that I use there. So I'm just going to start with one piece here on the back, okay? And then I'm going to just wrap it around twice and just sort of overlapping it. And then I will run it here. And use these scissors here, snip it off. And then what I've started to do, which I kind of like how this is working, is I'm adding a little bit of tear and tape just on top of that twine, because I find it holds it down a little bit better, okay? So I'm gonna leave that one like that, but then the next one, maybe I'll peel off the backer. I just find it secures it a little bit better than just the adhesive, okay? So I don't know, maybe that's just me or maybe, but I find that that kind of works for me, okay? So I did peel off that top layer like so, so you can adjust your twine a little bit if you want. Okay, so now we are going to put this on top of our larger arch. Okay, so this is the Lost Lagoon, the second largest arch of the Everyday Arches dies, which are so, so great, right? I hope they still stay around. Okay, so let's put this right inside. I love how these just nestle so perfect together. They are brilliant, just so, so great. Okay, so we have that, okay? So now I'm going to add a few starfish and shells. So what I did, we have this large die here, this one, that cuts out a whole variety of different shells and starfish and things. Maybe just shells, I don't know. So I cut it out twice, and what I did, well, yeah, twice. So I cut it out once from, let me just grab my pile here because they all, it's one die, but they all come out cut separate. Okay, so I cut some once out of Calypso Coral because I wanted a little pop of color in here. Okay, so some Calypso Coral there. And then I cut some out of, I don't know if you can tell in this light, but these were cut out of the Crumb Cake two-tone cardstock, okay? So if you're not familiar with that, this is what it looks like. So it is light on one side and dark on the other. So you can intermingle, you know, both colors into one design. So that's kind of what I did on my sample here too. Oh, this is a piece of, got stuck there to my paper. Okay, so let's let's decide which ones we want to put on here. And I'm just going to attach them. Oh, so, well, maybe I will add a couple of mini dimensionals on some. The original one I did not. I just laid them flat. So it's personal preference, I guess. Now, do I have a big star? I still have one left over from my samples. So we have a big star and this one. So I have, it cuts quite a few. So you probably, for this particular card, may not use all of them. So let's put kind of like here, maybe I'll put two of the small stars. So I've got a light one and a dark one. Okay, so these are pretty small. So I think I'm just going to use my glue and just put a little dab of glue there. And I'll put this sort of here on the sand. And then I'm going to flip it to the darker side of the Crumb Cake two-tone. And maybe put this one here. And then I have this larger star. And I think this one I will, on this card, we'll put a mini dimensional on and see. we'll see how the two compare. How's that? Okay, so let's put this one just right there, and we'll pop it up a teeny bit. Huh. Okay, and then on this side, let's put something over here. So this time I think I might, I don't know, do I want to use this long one? Oh, there's so many choices with these shells, right? What are you gonna do? Oh, decisions. I could do this one in the darker as well. Doesn't show up as nice as this side though. Just the way it was embossed. I might have to next time, you know, maybe put the die on the darker side of the paper, and then I will see all these little creases in here in the shell, right? So let's just, maybe we'll pop this one up. And we'll put this one maybe here so you can see it a bit better against the blue. And then maybe we'll stick this one. I kind of like to stick with an odd number, so I don't know about this large one. I could maybe stick that somewhere else. So maybe I'll just use a small Calypso Coral star. And I'll tuck that under here, or should I put it up here? Maybe would be better. Okay, so that will stick on there. So I do have my 5. Now, do I want to put another one over here? Or is that getting to be too much? Can't make up my mind today, guys. There is this one here too. But then I do want to put a couple of gems on. So you know what? I'm just going to leave this off. Later, if I change my mind, I can always still add it. Okay, but I think I'm just going to leave it off for now. Okay, so let me just put these aside. And then we are going to add a few gems. Now these, I just happened to find them in my stash. They are the Riverside Irregular Pearls. I think these are probably discontinued, or at the very least they would be on last chance maybe. I'll have to look up where these came from, and I'll try to include that on the post, where I might have found these, or if in fact they are retired. So they have a hint of blue to them, and then just some, like they're meant to be sort of pearl-like, right? So they're kind of like an off-white, and then a little more color, and then more color on the bottom. And there's 2 different sizes here. So I thought this might look, you know, kind of cool on a water card. So maybe this time I might just put them here at the bottom. On my sample, I put them to the side just because how, you know, this looks like it's a little further down, the placement. So let me see. Let's start with a small one of the lightest color here. And then we'll use another small one of the second color beside it. And then we'll use maybe a larger blue beside that. Now these are probably not in a straight line, are they? Not sure I can tell. Let me see. Oh, I should have put these on last, but that's okay. So now we're going to add these onto our card base, okay? So I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back of this arch, and we'll see these 2 side by side and what we think. Okay, let's put this about here, and then we can just press along the sides, and there you go. 2 different, slightly different designs. I think the embossing folder adds a little bit for sure to this. You could use a different embossing folder or play around with that a little bit. But I kind of like that pop of Calypso Coral in there too. I think it kind of adds just that little pop of something different. You could use a different color, of course, too, but So there you go. That is the Rolling Waves bundle for today. And that is one of our new March online exclusives. So I hope you can check that out. Okay, everybody, I will post this on the Facebook page with the dimensions that I've used, and I'll also post it on my YouTube channel, Christine Stamping Spots. So feel free to check that out. It also has some lots of other previous projects and videos that I've done. So make sure you check it out and maybe, give it a little follow or subscribe while you're there. That would be awesome. So I hope you all have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.